to the Black LT channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful and blessed Monday. We're going to go ahead and get into our news for the day. We're back in Charleston. So it looks like the Charleston judge accused of having child sex abuse material has been ordered to remain in jail. There is some disturbing information that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, and we're also going to get into the court records that have been submitted. Okay.
A suspended Charleston County magistrate judge was back inside of a federal courtroom this afternoon, only hours after he was accused of additional, even more graphic charges. James B. Gosnell Jr. has been in jail since last week after the U.S. Department of Justice charged him with possession of child sexual abuse material. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Ann McGill. These new accusations against that former Judge Gosnell are detailed in a motion filed by the DOJ today. We do need to warn you, this information is disturbing and may be graphic to viewers. Live 5's investigative reporter Emily Johnson joining us now after being inside of that courtroom today with Gosnell, where no cameras were allowed. Emily, what additional information was shared with the public in court?
And the new accusations against Gosnell are extremely disturbing and shocking to many here in the Charleston community, as he was not only in a position of power, but he was also in a position of trust. The motion details Gosnell claimed to have traveled to Mexico to have sex with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and he repeatedly admitted to abusing children in his neighborhood, according to messages. Just yesterday, Gosnell's attorney Lionel Lofton argued in a motion that the evidence proved to be an isolated incident with no pattern of inappropriate behavior from Gosnell, that he has no criminal history or any alleged inappropriate activity with minors. But after the state filed their motion this afternoon, Gosnell waived his right to a detention hearing, keeping him behind bars until a preliminary hearing is scheduled. Although today's hearing was very brief, the state's motion goes on to detail Gosnell confessed to possessing the material and also was romantically involved with another man who had a shared interest in pedophilia. In one of these conversations, prosecutors state that Gosnell and the other man planned a trip to Florida for the two to, quote, jointly rape and torture the infant son of a family member of this other man. The filing also states that Gosnell's conversations on the app Telegram revealed numerous instances in which he raped and abused children. United States Attorney for South Carolina Brian Sterling told reporters after the hearing that Gosnell is alleged to have abused the most vulnerable of us, infants and toddlers.
To the parents of the community, our investigation has revealed that Gosnell claims to have abused very young children. If you have left your child alone with Gosnell, even let him hold your child, please email the tip line.
Gosnell's attorney asked the court for 2 days to prepare for the preliminary hearing, with Judge Molly Cherry saying that hearing will be scheduled within the next 10 days. Now, we'll make sure to keep you updated on air and online once this hearing is actually officially scheduled, and once then we know more as this case continues to unfold. Reporting live in downtown Charleston, Emily Johnson, Live 5 News.
This is sick and very much disturbing. Okay. Very sick, very disturbing, guys. So Gosnell, 68, faces charges of possession of child sexual abuse material.
For over 50 years, Trico Exteriors has protected.
Trying to get this to stop here so that we can move forward. Okay. All right. Gosnell was scheduled to appear before the judge on today, which was to seek bond, and they said hell no. But Monday's hearing lasted only for about 5 minutes today, okay? Gosnell's attorney, Lionel Lofton, asked the court for 2 more days to prepare for the preliminary hearing. The judge said that hearing will be scheduled within the next 10 days. So federal investigators filed a detailed 18-page motion that we're going to go ahead and get into, opposing bond for Gosnell, that detailed allegations that Gosnell not only possessed a USB flash drive with hundreds of videos of child sex abuse material, but that he found evidence that Gosnell communicated with another man with a shared interest in pedophilia, describing the unimaginably explicit conversations that suggest the judge was romantically involved with the man and that their romantic interest involved abusing children together. In one of those conversations, prosecutors alleged that Gosnell and the other man planned a trip for Gosnell to visit him in Florida for the two to jointly rape and torture the infant son of a family member of the other man. The filing also states that Gosnell's conversations on Telegram reveal numerous instances in which he raped and abused children. Prosecutors say in one conversation, Gosnell described abusing a 5-month-old in public in his neighborhood and later sent a selfie of himself and a 2-year-old child with the message, "My new buddy." Court documents allege that Gosnell claimed to have sexually assaulted the girl 2 weeks earlier. Conversations reveal that Gosnell described traveling to Puerto Vallarta to have sex with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. That other that other international travel was made for the purpose of engaging in sex with children. So not only was he doing this locally, he was also doing this internationally, crossing over state as well lines, okay, as international lines. Investigators with Homeland Security and the U.S. Attorney's Office want anyone who has a child or knows of a child who was ever alone or even held by Gosnell to notify them via email at Charleston underscore exploitation tips at hsi.dhs.gov. The parents of the community, our investigation has revealed that Gosnell claims to have abused very young children. U.S. Attorney for State South Carolina Brian Sterling said, "If you have left your children alone with Gosnell or even let him hold your child, please email the tip line." Sterling said Gosnell was appointed to a position of trust to protect the community from the criminals against us. He is alleged to have abused the most vulnerable of us, which are infants and toddlers. Prosecutors filed a motion on Monday morning in hopes of keeping Gosnell in custody until he goes to trial. The state argued that Gosnell should not be granted bond because of the conduct in the case, which prosecutors describe as being as the most reprehensive sort, and as well as the weight of the evidence prosecutors say they have. They also argued his position of trust as a magistrate judge weighs against him because his long time role in the criminal justice system. Gosnell has immense insight into the workings of law enforcement and the court system, which makes him well situated to avoid detection if he were to further offend or to flee prosecutors. Because he faces a certain substantial prison sentence and the loss of any statute or prestige he held in the community and risked his personal safety in prison, his combination of factors creates a substantial incentive for defendant to flee, the filing states. Federal investigators also allege Gosnell is a danger to the community, suggesting that the mere existence of and traffic in child pornographic images creates the potential for many types of harm in the community and presents a clear and present danger to all children. Lofton filed a motion for bond for his client on Sunday, arguing that the evidence provided thus far proved to be an isolated incident with no pattern of inappropriate behavior from Gosnell and that he has no criminal history or any alleged inappropriate activity with minors. Investigators say Homeland Security Investigations received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in December. The tip flagged several accounts on PayPal that were communicating with and making payments to a known vendor of child sex abuse material from the United Kingdom court documents state. Investigators were able to determine that one of the PayPal accounts belonged to Gosnell, the documents state. That led them to execute a search warrant at Gosnell home last Tuesday, during which they found a USB flash drive plugged into Gosnell's computer that contain hundreds of videos of child abuse material, prosecutors say. So let's go ahead and get into the motion, guys. All right, the United States of America and through Brian P. Sterling, United States Attorney, hereby files the brief in support of the government's motion for detention of the defendant, James Benjamin Gosnell Jr. Gosnell should be detained pending trial because he poses both a grave danger to the community, particularly children, and a risk of non appearance at future proceedings. On September 16, 2025, agents with the Department of Homeland Security Investigations executed a federal search warrant at Gosnell's residence, during which time Gosnell confessed to possessing child sexual abuse material. On the same day, a complaint was signed charging Gosnell with possession of child pornography in violation of 18 USA 2522A, and he was arrested. On September 17, 2025, Gosnell appeared in federal court for his initial appearance on the complaint. During the hearing, the government moved for detention and the court scheduled a hearing for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. On date, HSI was made aware of a National Center for Missing and Exploited Children cyber tip issued in December of 2024. The cyber tip flagged numerous accounts on PayPal that were communicating and making payments to a known CSAM vendor from the United Kingdom. Investigators identified numerous account holders that paid the CSAM vendor, confirmed that those accounts were used to purchase CSAM, and learned that the vendor distributed CSAM through Telegram. Investigators determined that one of the PayPal accounts that paid the vendor belonged to Gosnell. The cyber tip identified PayPal account ending in 9731 as having sent two payments to the vendor on November 4th, 2024, with the transaction note VID. I'm guessing that stands for video. Further investigation revealed that the PayPal account ending in 9731 was created on the same day, November 4th, 2024, and that it conducted no other transactions. Federal agents found correspondence from the vendor via PayPal on November 5th, 2024, regarding refund processing. On December 20th, 2024, the account placed a hold on both transactions, reporting that it was unauthorized. Federal agents were able to determine that the PayPal account ending in 9731 listed a primary street address, and they have blurred that out, in Charleston, South Carolina, 29407. The email address at AOL.com, which they blurred out, and the phone number 1843 blurred out, all of which were found to belong to James Gosnell. The account was created and transactions conducted from IP address 45226151. The investigation revealed that IP address resolved back to the net range of AT&T and subscribers' information that the account was associated with James Gosnell, with a service and a billing address of the same, the email address of the same, and the phone number of the same. An additional PayPal account belongs to Gosnell was substantially located. This PayPal account ending in 4954 was also used to conduct transactions on November 4, 2024. This account sent three payments to the CSAM vendor with the subject gains. All three of the transactions had the status denied, canceled. Federal agents were able to determine that the PayPal account ending in 4954 was created on October 11, 2021. It listed a primary street address of the same in Charleston and an email address at AOL.com and no phone number, all of which were found to belong to Gosnell. The account is sourced from the same credit/debit card number as Gosnell's PayPal account ending in 9731. Execution of the federal search warrant. On September 16, 2025, HSI executed a federal search warrant at James Gosnell residence. When federal agents arrived on scene, Gosnell met them at the door and asked whether they knew who he was. When they explained the scope of the search warrant, Gosnell told federal agents he'd show them what they're looking for and led them to a USB flash drive plugged into his computer. He later told federal agents it would contain hundreds of videos of CSAM, which it did. In addition to the USB flash drive, federal agents seized 13 additional flash drives, an iPhone, and numerous other electronic discs and VHS tapes, as well as a Madrid of records. Damn, y'all, I know when the last we had VHS tapes, he still got damn VHS tapes. In a post Miranda interview, Gosnell confessed to possessing CSAM, attempting to purchase it, and communicating with like minded individuals on Telegram. Gosnell admitted that he had possessed CSAM and viewed it. He told federal agents the flash drive he had led them to would contain hundreds of videos. And when asked whether it was very young children, such as little babies, he replied that it contained everything. He told federal agents that he attempted to purchase them using PayPal one time unsuccessfully. He admitted to having conversations with vendors about the purchase. He admitted to having conversations with other pedophiles through, though he claimed he had not received any files for years and does not know anyone who would possess them. Gosnell also claimed his PayPal account and U.S. bank card were hacked. Child, please. Were hacked during his attempts to purchase. He claimed that he had tried and failed to obtain them from an individual, and that the individual had hacked his PayPal account. His U.S. bank card information had been stolen, resulting in a fraudulent charge in the UK and the Netherlands, which he reported to his bank as fraudulent. No, you was trying to cover your ass. On September 17, 2025, federal agents executed a federal search warrant at Gosnell's chambers at the Charleston County Magistrate Court. Among the seized items were bank records for a U.S. bank account and a city bank account. The U.S. bank account statements reflect several charges from the UK. The Citibank account statements had highlighted the two PayPal transactions to the vendor. Forensic examination of the seized electronic devices is ongoing. However, the devices that have been processed thus far have been revealing. The USB drive shown to federal agents by Gosnell, which was found plugged into his laptop computer and which he claimed would contain hundreds of videos of child pornography, has been preliminary examined. As anticipated, it contains hundreds of files. Three particular files contained USB flash drives titled Dropper, as described. Image. This file was last written April 24th of 2018 and was last accessed on August 12th of 2025. This image depicts the vaginal, oh my gosh. Oh, this image depicts the vaginal penetration of an infant less than 1 year old. Oh my God. A pacifier is visible in the infant's mouth. There appear to be ropes tied around the infant's wrists and ankles. This file was last written June 4th, 2018, and was last accessed on September 6th of 2025. The image depicts a male less than 3 years old with his legs tied to a protruding piece of furniture in a manner to further expose the anus and genitals. The anus and genitals are the focal point of the photo. My God. This file was last written April 24th of 2018 and was last accessed September 10th of 2025. This image depicts, oh my God, I'm sorry, y'all. I just had my first grandbaby. She's only 2 months old now, and this is ridiculous. Male performing oral sex on an adult male's erect penis. Federal agents have also begun to analyze Gosnell's iPhone. Federal agents located telegram on Gosnell's iPhone, which was logged into Gosnell's account. Based on their review of his iPhone, federal agents determined that Gosnell communicated with the telegram user known through the investigation to be the CSAM vendor to whom he had sent PayPal payments. Additionally, Gosnell communicated with another adult man with a shared interest in pedophilia. It appears from the unimaginably explicit conversations that Gosnell was romantically involved with the other individual, but that their romantic interest involved abusing children. Exhibit B, in one of these conversations, Gosnell and the other pedophile are planning a trip for Gosnell to visit him in Florida. The purpose of this visit is for the other pedophile and Gosnell to jointly rape and torture the other pedophile's nephew, infant son. After discussing in great detail the ways they would each like to rape the infant, the conversation takes an even more evil turn. The other pedophile tells Gosnell, "Watch you snuff my nephew's son. Tie him up by his legs, torture him. I want to see you do that, baby." Gosnell reply is, "I picked to the, oh my God, I pick to sick the back of the head, scramble his brains. He stays alive for a few hours, but for the most part is brain dead." Their conversations also revealed that they considered USB flash drives to be preferred method of storing their video collections. It appears from the conversations that once Gosnell traveled to Florida to meet the individual and give him a USB flash drive, sometime later the individual mailed the USB flash drive back to Gosnell in Charleston. Alarmingly, Gosnell's conversation on Telegram also revealed numerous instances in which he raped and abused children. In a conversation in which Gosnell was getting to know another pedophile, he asked how twisted you into. Oh my God. To which the other pedophile replies, "Very, very twisted. No limits, basically." Gosnell's response was, "Fuck yes. None here." The other pedophile responds, "Rape, torture, etc." Gosnell then proclaimed, "A screaming kid makes me more than evil and my cock rock hard." In one conversation, Gosnell details his sexual abuse of a 3-month-old. Gosnell says he was keeping it for neighbors whose sitter stood him up. He tells the other pedophile how he ate. Oh my God. It is pussy and ass. Cam 7 times. Looked like a glazed donut. The other pedophile asks whether the baby cried when he did it, and Gosnell says no. Gosnell also describes how he abused the 5-month-old in public in his neighborhood. He tells the pedophile that he held one of the neighbor kids the other day. The kid is like 5 months old, and I'm sitting there and holding it, and I'm in the middle of the street, little blankets over, and I slipped my finger into, you know what, PUSSY, and rubbed its PUSSY. Later in the conversation, Gosnell sent a selfie he took of himself and a 2-year-old child with the message, "My new buddy." He claimed to have sexually assaulted the girl 2 weeks prior. He later sent another photograph of himself and the baby he says was 2 weeks old, admitting to have orally assaulted the baby. In these telegram conversations, Gosnell described to have sex with a 2 and a 5-year-old in Porto Vatela. Ugh, He says their mother was a meth whore who was, I think some of these words are mixed up because it says who was sold her kid for a few hours and that he anally raped at least the 2-year-old boy. Additional conversations suggest other international travel for the purpose of engaging in sex with children. Federal agents are aware that in summer, late 2025, Gosnell traveled alone to Amsterdam. Federal agents additionally found evidence that Gosnell claimed to be leading Zoom posts in which he would teach other pedophiles the tricks of the trade. The remaining electronic devices to be processed are follows: 4 computers, 13 USB drives, 7 SD cards, 2 iPads, miscellaneous discs and VHS tapes. In determining whether detention is appropriate, the court must consider the relevant factors. To detain Gosnell, it is sufficient that the court make a finding of either a risk of the defendant's non-appearance or the defendant's danger to the community. The law does not require a finding of both. When court considers all the factors, the answer is clear. Gosnell must be detained pending trial. No condition or combination of conditions will be sufficient to ensure Gosnell reappearance or the insurance to the safety of the community. For the purpose of the detention, charges under 18 USC 2252A are considered to be both crimes of violence and crimes involving minors. 18 USC 3156A 4C, defining crime of violence to include any felony under Chapter 110 or 117. Oh my God. Observing Congress has made clear its view that child pornography crimes are serious offenses. These designations provide the first hint at the seriousness of the offense at hand. The conduct in this case is the most reprehensive sort. Not only did Gosnell possess videos, but the videos that he found sexually arousing is particularly vile and depicts the rape of minors, of children, of toddlers, of infants. Oh my God. The images of child pornography and that he admits he possessed, they are vile and reprehensible depictions of adults having sex with very young children, occasionally even babies. And the Cameron and court mentions that the defendant possessed files, occasionally even babies. Gosnell specifically sought out infants and toddlers, both in videos and to rape and abuse. It was not occasional, but rather his preferred age range. The infant toddler video found on the USB flash drive was viewed as recently as September 6th of 2025. Another image of a child was viewed September 10th of 2025. Gosnell did not merely receive this video and put it on a shelf. Rather, he continued to access it and enjoy the abuse of children. His continued compulsion to view these images remains undeterred. Gosnell's conduct also intensifies the production and distribution of more videos. The evidence shows that Gosnell shared his interest with others by communicating with other pedophiles and sending money in an attempt to obtain more videos. In doing so, Gosnell became very inerectable, spoke in the wheel of video industry. This is an industry that exists solely because people like Gosnell enjoy the rape of children and continue to fund its production and expansion. Oh my God. Prohibiting the possession of viewing of a child to protect the victims of child pornography and to market. Possession of videos is an incredibly serious offense and should be treated as such. It targets and perpetually harms the most vulnerable among us, given that the children captured in images and videos depicting their sexual abuse are harmed intentionally during the production of the images, and the perpetual nature of child pornography distribution on the internet causing significant additional harm to victims who live with persistent concern over who has seen the images of their sexual abuse and how those images are being used to cause additional harm. Pornography depicts picture picture troll evidence of physical sex abuse against the exploitation of children, and the production and the distribution of such contraband carries a multitude of harms. Possession of videos is an incredibly serious offense and should be treated as such. It targets, harms the most vulnerable among us, and the individual who would choose to view and enjoy it is irrevocably changed from the moment he makes that choice. Thus, the nature of the circumstances of Gosnell crimes. While the complaint charges possession of child pornography, further investigation has revealed numerous other crimes, to include the federal crimes of receipt of child pornography and to include the state crimes of criminal sexual conduct of a minor, first degree. These are generally viewed as more severe crimes which warrant more severe punishment. The weight of the evidence against the defendant. The weight is heavy against Gosnell, overwhelming and conclusive. It is not mere suspicion that Gosnell possessed these videos. Gosnell himself admitted to possessing the videos and led federal agents to the USB drive containing what he himself described as hundreds of videos of child porn, ordering detention and nothing that the weight of the evidence is overwhelming. Thousands of children's porn photos are on his computer. Gosnell also admitted he tried to buy additional videos in the past and that he had spoken with various other pedophiles over the years. Federal agents identified the PayPal transactions to a known vendor, confirmed the accounts belonged to him, and verified the transactions were made from his residence in Charleston, South Carolina. Federal agents reviewed exchanges with the known video and telegram during which Gosnell discussed purchasing videos. Federal agents forensically reviewed and are still reviewing electronic devices seized from his residence, finding a trove of video material. Federal agents confirmed that those video files were viewed as recently as days before Gosnell was arrested. Federal agents reviewed conversations between Gosnell and a fellow pedophile in which he discussed their shared desire to abuse children and that they had no limits. They found sexually gratifying. The discussed they discussed a prior meetup in which Gosnell distributed vendor um, videos to the other pedophile. The conversations detailed the children, frequently from neighborhoods that Gosnell had raped and abused, and formed plans for Gosnell to travel to Florida in November to rape and potentially murder a very young child. All of this was done while he served as a judge for Charleston County. The weight of the evidence is overwhelming. Gosnell is a Charleston County magistrate judge. He was appointed to the position of trust and charged with protecting the community from the dangerous criminals among us. Instead, he became a part of an industry that relishes abusing children. His purchases fueled the continued production and distribution of videos, and his continued viewership cemented his percolations. Again, Gosnell is a man who finds sexual gratification in the rape of a child, the rape of a toddler, the rape of an infant. Moreover, his conversations with other pedophiles show that his sexual appetite, oh my God, is insatiable. Gosnell's position of trust as a magistrate judge weighs against him because his long term role in the criminal justice system puts him in a unique position that only increases the likelihood of his danger to the community and his risk of non-appearance of a detained. If detained, Gosnell was amused insight into the workings of law enforcement and the court system, which makes him well situated to avoid detection if he were to further offend or to flee. As to the defendant's risk of flight, the court is not confident that the defendant will appear in the future given his knowledge of police practices and procedures and his computer expertise. It is not far-fetched to believe that this knowledge will enable defendant to avoid detection if he flees. Furthermore, defendant faces a certain substantial prison sentence and the loss of any stature or prestige he held in his community. In addition, as a former police officer, defendant is aware of the risk he faces in prison to his personal safety. This combination of factors creates a substantial incentive for the defendant to flee. Gosnell's history and characteristics prove that he cannot be deterred. He descended into the mere pedophilia and video while sitting on the bench. As a judge, he was intimately involved in the administration of justice, including individuals charged with child sex crimes. He knew the legal consequences if he was caught. He knew the reputational and community harm that would result. He knew the harm that comes to the children victimized by the video industry, and yet he still persisted. If being given the immense responsibility of ensuring the safety of his community and holding the position of prestige did not deter Gosnell, it is hard to imagine what might. The court had to consider the issue of detention for a police officer who viewed videos. The court laminated that the officer had betrayed his oath of office and that the trust placed in him by his family, employer, and the community at large, and found that if defendant betrayed his trust, no assurances can be given that he would not also violate any condition of the release. Most importantly, Gosnell should not be released because he is a danger to the community. Under his prone danger to the community to be given a broader construction than merely danger from harm involving physical violence. Community safety refers more broadly to the risk that the defendant might commit any criminal activity which would harm the community. And I think he might try to harm himself. And at this point, you don't want him to do that. You want him to pay for what he's done. Gosnell would pose a danger to the community at large, given that the risk he will resume his criminal conduct. After all, the mere existence of the traffic in child pornographic images creates the potential for many types of harm in the community and presents a clear and present danger to all children. Indeed, as Congress has observed, where children are used in its production, child pornography permanently records the victim's abuse and its continuous existence causes the child victims of sexual abuse containing harm by haunting those children in the future. There is a clear danger to the community shown here at Gosnell's possession and distribution of the videos, the volume of the videos located, and the nature of the abuse depicted, and the recency in which Gosnell viewed the same of the videos files should give the court pause as to whether any conditions could be imposed which could assure that Gosnell would not continue this behavior on release. Crucially, in Gosnell's own words, he did more than possess videos. As outlined above, he told another pedophile in great details about his prior rape and abuse of infants, toddlers, and children. Several of those children were his neighbors. He abused at least one of those children in public, surrounded by other people. This raises insurmountable unsurmountable concerns about the safety of the community if he were to be released. Gosnell lives in a residential community and is bound to have contact with minors, as demonstrated by the fact he has already abused more than one he met through his neighborhood. It is undeniable that Gosnell is a perpetrator with is a predator with performance for infants and toddlers. In his own words, he also described his interest in the torture of those children during abuse. Gosnell was so motivated to rape children that he traveled to Mexico to do it. He was planning to travel to Florida in November to rape, torture, and murder an infant. The result is an individual who is of incredible danger to the community in which he resides. Y'all know, I wonder if they were going to go ahead and try to make it seem like this child disappeared down in Florida. And then these family members would have been looking for this child, not knowing that they had a pedophile on their hands as well. Gosnell lives alone in his home with no accountability. If released, he would have the ability to procure additional devices and have unfettered access to the internet and to his fellow pedophiles. Not only would such contact serve to deepen Gosnell's pedophiliations, but it would also allow him to alert others to the investigative techniques law enforcement has used in his case, endangering not only the Charleston community, but also other communities at large. The government also remains concerned about the internet access and finds it difficult to imagine a sufficient set of conditions to ensure that Gosnell, an individual well versed in the practices of law enforcement and the court system, could not obtain unmonitored devices with internet access if he so desired. While no evidence was introduced of past criminal convictions, evidence was introduced that the defendant's conduct was not an isolated event. He is capable of engaging in the same or similar conduct from nearly any internet enabled device, and it would be nearly impossible to prevent his unmonitored access to such outlets in an age of internet access and inexpensive computing technology. Even if the court were to order home detention and electronic monitoring, defendant would still have the ability to have access to phones or computers which could be used for types of illicit activities described above. Indeed, defendant could obtain a mobile electronic device capable of unmonitored internet access at a corner convenience store. As such, there are no conditions which can reasonably assure the safety of the community and others under the particular circumstances of the case if the defendant is released. Gosnell is in possession of several firearms, which he was unwilling to surrender at the time of execution of the search warrant at his residence. I tell y'all because maybe he's thinking about pew pewing himself. These firearms pose a risk to the community, but they also pose a risk to Gosnell himself. There is an immense shame and loss of community standing that comes with the instant charge, in addition to the potential for a lengthy prison sentence in the future. While the court cannot necessarily consider Gosnell a danger to the community simply because he is a danger to himself, the court can consider the potential that Gosnell may harm himself when weighing the certainty of his appearance at future court hearings. The court should be wary of any effort by Gosnell's downplay the danger he poses to the community. Increasingly, the rhetoric by defendants in video cases seems to be downplayed in the real harm caused by the possession of the videos and the industry at large. But the courts have continued to see the immense harm created by the industry, even if the possession alone, attempting to downplay the severity of the charges by arguing that no victims were physically harmed as a result of a defendant. A mere viewing, possessing, or sharing of child pornography is a non starter, as the Third Circuit has pointed out in connection with Congress findings in Section 2251, which the court viewed as closely related to Section 2252A. Congress found little distinction in the harm caused by a pedophile. He a distributor or more consumer in child pornography, because the mere existence of the traffic in child pornographic images creates the potential for many types of harm in the community and presents a clear and present danger to all children. Child pornographic harms and debases the most defenseless of our citizens. Possession alone of child pornography, which appears well established in this case, based on the information pre-offered, presents serious, even if not irremediable, concerns. The case with which a person can access and distribute child pornography from his home, often with more effort than a few clicks on a computer, may make it easier for perpetrators to indulge themselves that their conduct is not deviant or harmful, but they want to say it could be technical. He could try to use that he's just doing it online but not in real life. Fucking liar. Child pornography crimes no more mitigate the real harm caused by these crimes than do technological advances, making it easier to perpetrate fraud, traffic drugs, or even engage in acts of terrorism, all at a distance from victims. We cannot view the distribution of child pornography, however accomplished, as anything but a serious crime that threatens real and frequently violent harm to vulnerable victims. Gosnell's own words have given the court the evidence it needs to see that he is a danger to the community. A man who would discuss and plan to travel to rape, torture, and murder an infant cannot be released into the community. A man who would brag about raping and abusing infants and toddlers, even in public, surrounded by other people, cannot be deterred by any condition or combination of conditions. James Gosnell is the foremost danger to this community and must be detained. Based upon the foregoing, Gosnell is a clear danger to the community and his appearance cannot be assured. Thus, Gosnell should be detained pending resolution of this and his case. So, guys, there you have it. They have not mentioned as of yet who the other pedophile is because, like they said, he did have a partner in crime. That partner in crime is actually down in Florida. By now, I'm pretty sure they do know who that person is. Most likely, they have contacted the parents of the child that they were actually trying to seek out in November because it looks like this child pretty much had a death notice on their head because they planned on actually executing this child in the process of getting off for themselves. All right, guys, do your girl a favor. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notification bells, and I will definitely keep you guys posted on this case. Have a good night.